Hey there, GFN here, and today we're gonna be doing the long-awaited 15K subscribers Q&A that I was planning on doing a long time ago, which I've only now gotten around to doing. And even though now we're more closer to, we're now beyond 16K subs instead of 15K, so that's kind of interesting. But like, yeah, so this is the Q&A that I'm pretty sure a lot of you were probably not expecting was ever gonna be made, but yeah, it's finally happening. So I asked on a community post a couple of weeks ago, a week ago, like what is you have a question, and leave it below, like, and there's a couple of things, obviously don't ask me and stuff because of that, because personal reasons and stuff, but like, yeah, so for that reason, basically you all really came out and really asked me some really interesting and unique questions, and I'm really super grateful for that, because like I really wanted to answer different types of questions instead of like having 50 questions asking me what my favorite episode of Gravity Falls is, because like that gets a bit boring after a while. But yeah, so with that said, this is probably gonna be a long video, but judging by how long it's probably gonna be in like the below, it's probably you already know, but like I have no idea at the time I'm recording this. So with that said, let's answer all these questions and get on with it. When was the first time you saw something Gravity Falls related, and how was your first opinion you had about it? Well, I've known about Gravity Falls since it originally began back in 2012, because like, I mean, back then, like, here where I lived, like, Disney Channel didn't exist at the time, so like we had something called Family Channel, which it still exists, but like it's like, yeah, but like basically there were like, and well, basically there were promos for Gravity Falls at the time going all the way back to like 2012. So like I remember one time actually almost watching the first episode, but like then I changed the channel or something because I didn't really know at the time. And like back in those days, I was a big fan of Phineas and Ferb, and I still am. And I remember one time, like after this was like around 2013 and 2014, that they were airing the shorts in between them, and those are like pretty much my first glimpses of Gravity Falls. Like, I think I fondly remember. I think it was the first short that I ever saw for Gravity Falls was either it was the Maple Scrapbook one, which with them like in the movie, like they're trying to sneak into the movie theater to watch Pony Heist, like that I remember. The other one I also remember was, I think, Mabel's Guide to Colors, or no, it was Mabel Guides to Stickers or something like that. So like those were some of the first Gravity Falls pieces, things that I ever saw, and those were all the way back in 2013, 2014. And I also remember seeing some promos for episodes like Dreamscapers and Sock Opera and stuff going all the way back then. And I never really paid attention to them because I wasn't a Gravity Falls fan. But then fast forward to 2017, and I saw this video by Saberspark, which was talking about cartoons and conclusions and what Gravity Falls did right, and I thought it was like, okay, this is interesting. Like, this show apparently had a really good ending, and people are still praising it. So I was like, yeah, let's give it a try. I remember hearing about this show, and I thought that like I would never really get into it beyond just a couple of episodes and stuff like that. But like, holy shit, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think you can figure out what happened given the fact that I'm here answering questions about it. So, yeah. What's your favorite Disney animated movie and why? I think I'm gonna cheat on that question a little bit, because I'd say all my favorite Disney movies are also Pixar movies, because, well, I mean, technically is owned by Disney, so that technically counts, I'd say. I'd say my favorite movies from in that sense, because of Pixar, are, I'd say, in order, I'd say there'd be like Cars, there was Up, Finding Nemo, the Toy Story movies. Like those are all pretty much my favorite. Like, I don't have a specific favorite Disney movie, but like those are all pretty much my favorite. I mean, who doesn't love Pixar? I mean, you'd have to be a real weirdo to not like Pixar. What's your favorite show besides Gravity Falls? Well, that's kind of easy to say. Like, I mean, before I saw Gravity Falls, like, Phineas and Ferb was my absolute favorite show, and it still is in many ways. But like, currently, my favorite shows beyond Gravity Falls are Hilda and Amphibia. Like, those are my top two favorite shows after Gravity Falls, and like, I like they're just so incredible. Like, I see a lot of the similarities and things in them that made me love Gravity Falls, and they are just such heartwarming and fun shows, and like they have amazing characters, amazing stories, plots, and the animation is just incredible. And like they're my both favorite shows. Like, both of them are my two favorite shows, and like I just love them a lot. So like I could go into more in-depth details about it, but then I probably have to write a whole script about that, and it'll be like a whole video essay, and that's not kind of what I want to do right now. So like, yeah, but yeah, my two favorite shows after Gravity Falls are Hilda and Amphibia. What's your favorite video game? Well, I mean, I'm not a huge gamer or anything like that. I don't really have any consoles, and I don't really have a Steam account or anything like that. So I don't really play a lot of video games, though. So I'm gonna be cliche and say Minecraft because I mean, who doesn't like Minecraft? And I've just played a lot. Like I had a whole world and stuff on there. I used to play on a lot of servers back in the day. So yeah, like Minecraft is pretty much like my favorite video game. But like, I mean, if you could make another season of a show that ended, which show would it be, and what would the next season be about? Hmm. Well, there are a lot of shows out there that have ended that I truly do love and wish could come back. For example, Milo Murphy's Law is a good example. That show was cut short and really done dirty by Disney. As well as that, even though DuckTales ended really perfectly, it did feel like there was potential for a fourth season. That all said, I think everybody can agree on this. Infinity Train is the show that truly deserves another season because, as Owen Dennis said, he planned the show to be an eight seasons show, like a story, and so far we're basically only halfway there. So a fifth book and eventually onwards to a sixth, seventh, and eighth is what the show deserves. In that sense, then I wouldn't really change anything based on what I would want because I feel like the story that Owen wants to tell is already perfect, and he should be allowed to finish the story the way he always intended it to. So I would say renew Infinity Train for a fifth book, and on top of that, let Owen do it the way he always wanted. If you created a Disney animated series, what would it be? Well, I don't think I would really choose Disney as the first platform to go on for making a show. For at least an animated series, that is. Because, I mean, I think out of all the three networks that are out there, Disney is the one that does a good job, but compared to the other ones, but they are just an honest nightmare when dealing with, like, getting expanded stuff related to the show. So, like, merchandise, for example, it's a nightmare. I mean, we've all heard the stories of Alex and how long it took for him to get the box set made, which is even a miracle in itself. And on top of that, we now find out that the art book that he wanted to make for Gravity Falls was cancelled. So, I wouldn't necessarily go to Disney first. I mean, I'd probably try another network. I mean, honestly, I feel like working with a network nowadays to make a show is just honestly the most horrible thing ever. It's just so infuriating. But I mean, at the same time, there's reasonings obviously why people do that. Because I mean, you try making a show, an animated series on your own. I mean, that's going to take forever, obviously, and cost a lot of money. So there are obvious reasons why. But networks are just awful to work with. That being said, in terms of answering the main question, if I was to make a Disney series, what would it be? I don't know. I'd probably try to make something relatively interesting, but also different and out of the box. Because, I mean, for example, right now there's a big trend on Disney for shows having something to do with person goes through a portal to another dimension, ends up meeting people there, ends up saving the universe, stopping some villain from taking over using multiverse things. And I feel like the multiverse trope is starting to get a bit tiresome, so it would be interesting to make a show that wouldn't follow the multiverse related storyline. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad idea. I mean, the multiverse is not a bad thing. I think that it's a really cool concept and should continue to be done, but I feel like there should be variety. And that's probably something that I would want to focus on if I tried to make a Disney show. Not that I would want to make a Disney show. What's your favorite episode of Phineas and Ferb or song? Well, I think both my favorite episode and song are the same thing. Basically, they're in the same episode. My favorite episode of Phineas and Ferb of all time is the "Summer Belongs to You" special, and favorite song is, of course, "Summer Belongs to You," the song. I mean, that was probably I remember watching that episode. I think the year it came out, back in, was it 2010, 2009? I don't remember, but like, yeah, that was a crazy event, and that episode was just incredible and truly captures everything perfect about summer, childhood, that all good stuff. Like, it was a truly amazing special, and I think it still holds up even to this day. The song is just nostalgic and just unbelievably perfect, and I don't think you can ever beat something like that episode. And I think that was probably the peak of Phineas and Ferb. Like, I mean, I obviously love the show, and I don't think that there are bad episodes of Phineas and Ferb, I mean, apart from a couple, but like, overall, that was probably the best episode, and that was just an amazing song. So yeah, Summer Belongs to You and the song Summer Belongs to You are my favorite episode and special. Do you think that all Disney shows should follow the model of Gravity Falls? Or should they merely be influenced and forge their own paths/destinies? I'd say, well, I'd say like Gravity Falls was a truly perfect show in its own way. And I feel like a lot of shows nowadays often get that whole trope and just cliche um, thing of being called a Gravity Falls, like similar to Gravity Falls. I mean, shows like the Owl House and Amphibia, because obviously they are made by individuals that did work on Gravity Falls originally. They do get compared quite a lot, and a lot of similarities given are seen in them. But I don't think shows should be trying to become the next Gravity Falls. Like, I really hate when, like, cartoon YouTubers, for example, or people online just go like, "Oh, so and so show is the next Gravity Falls." Like, no, these shows should not be seen as the next Gravity Falls, but the first of their own. And I don't think that Gravity Falls should be like the type of show that you all need to try and mimic. Like, it's a good way to, it's probably like maybe it's an idea here or there that can work, but trying to make your show be the next Gravity Falls and going with that mentality is not going to work. It's just going to leave people wanting to compare both shows and try and find anything similar or different, and you'll always have those people who'll be like, "Oh, it'll never be the same, it'll never be like Gravity Falls." But like, no, it shouldn't try to be Gravity Falls. It should be its own thing. Like, for example, Amphibia. I really love Amphibia, and even though it is obviously in technical terms the spiritual successor to Gravity Falls, and has a lot of things about it that do mimic Gravity Falls, like similar, like, to answer the overall question, Gravity Falls, like future shows on Disney at least, and also other networks, shouldn't try to model Gravity Falls, but instead be influenced by them. So basically, the second part of the question, and through that, go and become their own shows and do their own things. So, yeah, that's my answer to that question. What's your favorite story-driven show that's not on Disney? um, I mean, I do love Infinity Train. Like, it is a truly amazing show, and I really do love it. But I would have to say that if I had to pick a show that is story-driven that isn't on Disney, then it would have to be Over the Garden Wall. Over the Garden Wall, I mean, kind of is a bit of a cheat because it's technically a mini-series and not a full-on series, but oh my gosh. And Over the Garden Wall is by far, hand on heart, one of the greatest shows ever made. Like, not just one of the greatest cartoons ever made, greatest shows ever made, period. Like, the visuals of the show are just unbelievably stunning. The story is unique, dark, but truly remarkably amazing and well told. And, yeah, like, I mean, I just don't really know how to describe Over the Garden Wall. It's a show. It's more like an experience, really. Like, you have to watch it yourself to really understand what it is all about. And yeah, I mean, it's a bit of an older show from 2014, but it still holds up and is just truly amazing. And like, if you've seen Over the Garden Wall, you know what I mean. And if you've not, like, I cannot recommend it enough. It's only 10 episodes long, but like that is, it's incredible. Like that's all I got. I mean, Gravity Falls is a truly amazing show, and I will always love Gravity Falls the most. But Over the Garden Wall is probably the closest you'll find to a show that could be to the same level, or in fact, be better in some ways than Gravity Falls, which is a big thing for me, obviously, to say, given this is a Gravity Falls account. But yeah, that's what I think. So, like, Over the Garden Wall is truly, by far, one of the best shows ever made, and one of the best story-driven shows ever made that's not on Disney. What can you expect from the upcoming Hilda movie that is slated to release this year? Well, I think that if we are going by the chronological order of the Hilda story, which, if you didn't know, Hilda is based off of a graphic novel series that Luke Pearson, the show's creator, started back in 2010. And based on that, the most recent story that's come out in the Hilda graphic novel series was Hilda and the Mountain King, which is the sixth book in the overall Hilda graphic novel series. And given this show, like season 2, ended at what happens at the end of the fifth book, which is Hilda and the Stone Forest, then technically speaking, that would mean that the movie would be focusing on what happens in Hilda and the Mountain King. And I won't spoil anything because I won't spoil anything, basically, but I do own Hilda and the Mountain King, and I have read the story, and I do know what's going to happen, most likely at the end of the show. But I will say that the Stone Forest adaptation of the television adaptation of the Stone Forest for the show was a lot different in many ways to what the book version of the Stone Forest is. So, for example, what causes Hilda and Joanna's fallout is different. In the book, Raven is the one who ends up saving Hilda. So and in the book it's Ulfr. I mean, in the episode it's Ulfr, but so like there are a lot of differences. So it's possible that the Mountain King story for the movie is going to be a lot different to what the books are like. And I mean, I'm not going to complain about that because I think that Hilda is one of the greatest shows ever made as well. And so for that reason, I would suspect that whatever happens in the Hilda movie is going to be similar or exactly like what happens in Hilda and the Mountain King. And I mean, I know what's going to happen at the end in that case, so it should be interesting. And I do still think that there is potential then afterwards for a third season, which I have heard rumors of is going to happen. But we obviously have to wait until the announcement comes out for that to be made certain. So, yeah. Are you satisfied with the ending of Gravity Falls? And even if yes, then would you want it to continue? I mean, I am satisfied with the ending of Gravity Falls. There is no question about that. I think that the ending was done perfectly, and I think, while I did have a couple of weird questions and stuff like that, the Journal 3 ended up answering a lot of those questions that ultimately leave me resolved. I do feel like that there is potential for continuing the story, but I don't feel like it needs to be continued, because if you do continue the story of Gravity Falls, then that kind of ruins the magic of what the show's ending is all about, which is that it's basically a show about what childhood is like. Like, childhood ends, and you go on and, grow up and move on in life. But, also the whole message of just because you grow up doesn't mean you have to grow up or something. Like, you know what that means, like growing old but not growing up. But that all said, there is the potential, because like there's so many of these like hints and theories about like, oh no, Bill's alive still, or oh, I don't know, this is gonna happen. But I don't feel like those theories need to be taken on and continued and adapted into something new. So like a third season, for example, or a movie that continues where the finale left off. I don't feel like that needs to be done, because on top of just ruining the overall magic of the ending of the show, which is kind of why I feel like the show is still so relevant, because like Gravity Falls ended when it needed to end, and so because of that, the show still has a lot of fans and still is pretty talked about because it's one of the few shows that got a proper ending. But like, if you were to continue the show, then like on top of all of the problems that would come up from that, you would also be taking away from all the fan like discussion and theories on it, because like suddenly all these other theories about what happens next to the show are defunct, like they no longer make any sense, they no longer matter, and so possible theory ends up becoming true. And I mean, that's obviously a small thing, like who cares what a fan's like opinion on certain so thing is, like whatever. But like that would kind of be pretty dumb, or like kind of hurt for a lot of people. Like, I mean, I have my own opinions on what might happen next, but like they are my own personal theories and headcanons, and obviously they will never be canon or to anyone else, and never really make sense to everybody else. But I still believe in them and I still like them, and that's kind of what I feel like for a lot of headcanons. Like, people should be allowed to think about, like, have their own headcanons of what happens next, or what so and so character is like, without being worried about what canonically ends up happening to them, or what other people may think. So yeah, basically what I feel like is that like Gravity Falls doesn't need to continue. Like, even though the show ended perfectly and there is the possibilities and like there are doors open for what you could do next, I don't feel like any of those doors should be approached and gone into, because like that would just kind of ruin a lot of things. Like, I'm really against a season 3 of Gravity Falls, and I'm really against continuing the show's story in any way. Like, that's pretty much my opinion on it. I do feel like maybe you could tell more stories set in the summer, or like a prequel type story, so like what happens with Stanford, for example. Like, that could be interesting, and if it's done right, then obviously that's the case. But like, if not, like, I don't feel like that would be a huge deal. Like, there are obviously things that the show could improve on, but where it stands right now, Gravity Falls is perfect, it ended perfectly, and I don't feel like there's a need to continue. What are you most excited about when Season 3 of Amphibia comes out? I feel like there's a lot of things that Amphibia season 3 is going to have to, obviously tell us, because this is the final season, which Matt Burley has confirmed. So this final season of Amphibia needs to complete the overall story that is being set up and is being told, as well as give us a proper conclusion for all the characters, and also give us a overall completion to what's going to happen to, like, King Andreas, for example. Like, how is he going to be defeated? Like, how are Anne's parents going to react, and, like, to, like, the whole, like, the planters being with them. So, like, there is a lot on hand, but I think, like, if there's one thing I really am hoping and looking forward to see with Amphibia, it's what will become of, like, Mercy, for example. Like, I feel like her character was given a huge development in the season 2 finale, like, True Colors. So basically she has been developed to this point where there is an interesting story to tell with her and what's going to happen to her, and overall, like, what her home life is like. So, like, what ended up happening to Mercy that day that really hurt her so badly that she wanted to go to Amphibia, because I don't feel like that her moving away is the only reason why she was so afraid of going back. So there is something more deeper, I feel like, to Mercy's character and her story, and I really do hope that season 3 looks into that, because already Amphibia has shown that it can be a show that deals with really heavy subject matter and do it in a really good way. And I feel like that Amphibia really is going to tell us this story and explain it perfectly. And so because of that, I'm really hopeful and excited for what season 3 will have to offer. Like, I know a lot of people are excited for the other things, like, I don't know, the Christmas special with Rebecca Sugar song, something in it, or Jason Ritter being told as we find out that he's going to be returning. And I'm excited for those things as well, but I feel like I'm really interested in what's going to happen in the more heartbreaking and emotional side of the show. And that's what I'm really looking forward to see, which I don't know what it says about me, but that's something I'm really excited about. Like, I really have high hopes that Amphibia will be the first show that Disney has made in a long time that truly delves into these emotional sides of characters, and it should be really interesting to see if they do it, which I'm really hopeful they will. If you could watch one show besides Gravity Falls for the rest of your life, which would it be? Oh gosh. Oh gosh, like, obviously right now my 3 favorite shows are Gravity Falls, Amphibia, and Halda. So picking between Amphibia and Halda is gonna be like trying to pick your favorite child. Like, I mean, like, oh gosh, it's like, I mean, I love Halda and I love Amphibia so much. Like, they are basically the only other 2 shows next to Gravity Falls that have everything in them that, in my opinion, a show should have, or at least what I feel a show should have. So, I mean, I can't really explain what those things are because they're, like, personal views that I have on what I think a show should be like. So, it's yeah, it's tough. Like, it's ultimately down between Amphibia and Halda. And, I mean, I think both shows right now, in their current status of still in production and ongoing, it's kind of hard to really give a proper answer to that question. So I'd probably double down and be like, instead pick a show that's already finished to an extent. So I don't know, Phineas and Ferb probably in that sense. So yeah, Phineas and Ferb. But depending on how each show ends, then I will decide. I will probably be like, oh, I don't know, so Amphibia or Halda. So I mean, so yeah, I think I'm probably going to cheat and double down on this question and just say, oh, I don't know. What non-Disney related cartoons or shows in general do you watch? Well, in terms of cartoons, I'd say, like, I've already explained, like, Over the Garden Wall and Infinity Train. I think I'm also really getting more into, like, more adult themed shows and stuff. So, like, recently I've been watching Close Enough, and oh my gosh, that show is really good. Like, it has a lot of the things that I feel like adult shows should be, like less inappropriate, jokes that you can get away with because you're rated, I don't know, TV mature, but in more like actual, like, slice of life type things, and being able to use that adult level to tell better stories. I'd say, like, that's kind of cool. And yeah, I mean, that's one show that I'm really interested in watching. Other than that, I watch a lot of documentaries, so anything related to, I don't know, aviation, for example, documentary-wise, I'm watching that. History related, so probably something about the Second World War, for example, because that's one of my favorite eras in history, alongside the Cold War. So, like, if it's not something cartoon related, it's probably something documentary-wise, which I'm really into. So there's that. Other than that, I really can't think of anything. I don't really watch that much cable anymore. I mean, who watches cable these days? So, yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else. Is there any way of getting Journal 3 Special Edition now? Oh gosh, I've been hoping for that. I've been asking myself that question for ages now, and unfortunately, no, there isn't. I mean, unless occasionally you go on eBay and hope that there's someone selling their copy, but I mean, unless you're like Bill Gates and have like $4,000 or like have $5,000 or like in one semester of university sitting in your wallet just for rainy days, like good luck trying to get yourself a copy of Journal 3 Special Edition. That book is impossible to find nowadays. Like I have a lot of regrets in life, and one of my biggest regrets is not ordering Journal number 3 back in 2017 when it was for sale on Amazon, because like I was just like still new into the fandom. I didn't know if I was really that ready to make the plunge, and I regret it ever since because yeah, that book was amazing, and it would have been amazing for my collection because like I have almost every single other Gravity Falls book except for that one, and yeah, it's painful. But like, I'm a huge fan of the show, but I'm not prepared to pay $4,000 to buy a secondhand copy. Like, I don't even know like how eBay moderates this stuff, and I'm not really interested in getting into like the details about that stuff. So I'm not even gonna try. So, but like, yeah, it's just impossible to find Journal 3 like special edition. Like, it's impossible. Luckily, there was an alternative solution if you're like interested in just having a signed book, which was that Barnes and Nobles was selling for their Black Friday event back in November 2020 a signed copy of Journal 3, which was signed by Alex. And I was really lucky, and I managed to get a copy of that, which I have a video up. And yeah, I mean, that was amazing, and it was just a little bit more expensive than Journal 3, the standard edition, but it was worth it because at the end of the day, like, I have a signed copy of Journal 3, signed something by Alex, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, overall, to answer the main question, no. Journal number 3 special edition isn't possible to find unless you have like $5,000 sitting around in your bank account. Do you watch anime? And if so, which one do you like the most? I don't watch anime. This is something that me and some friends in real life they were always going about. Like, they're all anime obsessed. I'm not, and they once sent me a list of animes to watch. I've not touched that list since they sent it. So, no, I don't watch any anime. I mean, I've thought about it, but I'm not really all that interested in watching anime. If Disney did not cancel the Gravity Falls art book, would you buy it? Do you wish they didn't cancel it? Well, for both those questions, the obvious answer is yes. I'm just so just bewildered by just how stupid Disney's executive team is. If they thought that here's the basis of what's going on. Alex and what's it, Dark Horse Comics, like, they set up a deal. They had a deal going about making a Gravity Falls art book, and basically Dark Horse was going to be the ones managing everything. They would be the ones paying for everything, I think. And basically all Disney needed to do was give their stamp of approval, and they would get a small cut or a cut of whatever profits are made from the book being sold. And it was that simple. And they canceled it at the last minute, and it is the most infuriating thing ever, especially given this year when they released that stupid bedtime stories book, which is absolutely awful. Like, avoid that book like the plague. And like, yeah, it was just to add insult to injury. Like Alex telling us that, like, oh my god, like, what the fuck is wrong with Disney? Like, I mean, I think I'd probably pre-order that book the second Alex announced it, if it was to be made. So like, I mean, that's what I did with Lost Legends when it was coming out. So I mean, it's just so unbelievably just disheartening what they've done, and I really wish they didn't do that. It's like, I mean, I'm not Disney, so obviously I can't give a proper explanation for why they did it, but like, it's like, I just feel like it's a really horrible business decision on their end. There are still a lot of Gravity Falls fans out there, and even Gravity Falls fans who aren't like like actively part of the fandom, like they would buy this book in a heartbeat. Like I have a feeling for certain that this would be a successful book. And I own the Over the Garden Wall art book, and it's a truly beautiful book. And if the Gravity Falls art book was even 1% like what the Over the Garden Wall art book is like, oh my gosh, it would have been amazing. And yeah, it's painful. It's just so unbelievably heartbreaking, because like this is something I'd been wanting for ages, like ever since the box set was announced. Like I was hopeful this would one day happen, and well, here we are. It almost happened, and we're never gonna get it now. I mean, maybe. I mean, I'm not a huge believer in many of like petitions and stuff like that. Like I don't always feel like they're always successful in what they're doing, but there is a petition going around about trying to get the Gravity Falls art book made, so I'll probably leave a link in the description to it, so if you want to go sign that. I mean, I have my doubts, but, you know, anything to get the Gravity Falls art book, I'm on board for, so, yeah, there's that. So, yeah, long story short, I'm really infuriated that Disney canceled the art book, and I would have definitely bought it if they didn't cancel it. If you had to choose, which one would you? Meet Bill Cipher or get $1 million? Get $1 million. Like, screw Bill. I have bills to pay, so yeah, $1 million. Save some of that shit up for like college. I don't know, like down payment on a house. Like spend that money wisely. Like use it to pay off loans, that stuff. Like $1 million will go a longer way than meeting a fictional Dorito. Yeah. Next question. What do you think of canon human Bill Cipher? I think he's as horrifying as he should be. And he's a million times better than all the fandom human Bill Ciphers. Those guys just look like yellow one-slurs from, I don't know, what's it, Lorax? Yeah. Oh my gosh, if I had gotten that wrong, I would have been really disappointed in myself. But yeah. Yeah. Why did this fandom pick to draw human Bill Cipher to look like the freaking one-slur? Like, oh my god, I'm never gonna unsee that shit. As horrifying as human Bill Cipher is, canonically, he is still original looking, so I mean, I'm gonna have to give him that. So yeah, I think he's horrifying, but he's much better than what the fandom came up with, in my opinion, that is. Do you have any other hobbies besides this? Yes, but they're not really hobbies that I'm really interested in talking about. I mean, apart from that, I'm a collector of aviation models, like plane models. I got a lot of them. I'm also interested in collecting books, but various books. I don't know. Like, I have a couple of interesting hobbies, but not. They're all pretty boring and probably would be not fun to talk about in this kind of video. So yeah, there's that. What do you think of that fanfic? Yeah. Dipper goes. Yeah, that fanfic. I'd love to meet the guy who came up with that story and really get to know what was going on in his mind when he came up with that horrible shit. But oh god, I said shit in this. Oh god, in that story. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Some people just shouldn't be writing, and that clearly is one of them. What do you even say about this? How did that stupid fic even become such a big meme? Like, if time travel was a thing, like, I would go back to 2012 and just make sure that the guy who wrote that fic doesn't publish it, because, yeah. There are bad fanfics out there. I'm ashamed to have ever known this fanfic. And, yeah. At least I haven't read it, so that's a good thing. Is YouTube what you do as a career or more so a hobby? It's a hobby. I mean, if you do see any ads on this channel, they're not from me. They're from copyright stuff, so like copyright claim or something like that. So I don't make a dime off this channel. It's all done for fun, and I'm gonna continue doing it that way. I have thought about it, but like I did try just for a joke, because I obviously knew it wouldn't, like, to see if this channel could be monetized, and I got an email 2 days later saying it can't be for various reasons. And yeah, so this is not like a career, this is just a hobby. Like, this is just a for fun channel, and always will be, and I mean, that's great. And like, if it ever stops being fun, then I don't know, maybe I'll move on to something else. I have thought about it, but for now it's still interesting, it's fun to do, so I'm gonna keep doing it. For now, at least. Can Gravity Falls do a crossover with the Jackson 5 TV show? The what? What did you expect from the sneak peek of Amphibia Season 3? Well, I didn't expect it to be that long, or to go into that much of, like, revealing us about, like, Anne's reunion with her parents and stuff. So, like, that was a bit of a shock, but a pleasant shock. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know what I was going to expect. I did have a feeling that we were going to see a sneak peek of Season 3, but I thought it was going to be maybe, like, a small clip or something like that. I didn't think it would be, like, a huge full scene like that. So, I don't really know what to say about that, but I am excited that Season 3 is coming really sooner than I thought it would. I mean, I've had a feeling it was going to come out next year or something, but it's coming out in literally like just over 2 months, so that's great. If you could make one permanent change to Gravity Falls, what would it be? Oh gosh, there are a lot of things about Gravity Falls that, I mean, if I had just one day to change things about it, that I would. Um, I'd say like the one thing though I would really want to do differently with Gravity Falls if I had control of it would be to more so develop Ford's character, because here's what I feel about Ford. I think that Ford is not a bad character, but he was not the most likable character. So like I feel like ironically a lot of the things that I dislike about Ford are kind of strangely the same things that people say about why they dislike Mabel. So like I think that Ford is very selfish. I think he's really egotistical and self-driven. I feel like he puts his own needs ahead of other characters sometimes, and I feel like he didn't learn as much from lessons than he should have, which ironically I know are the exact same things that fans go on crap on Mabel for. Which is, I mean, I feel like with Mabel there are a lot of like obviously things that you can't acknowledge, you can't ignore, but like Mabel has a lot of other, like her like misactions are a lot more forgivable and not as severe in consequences. Whereas with Ford, they are. I mean, the guy literally summoned Bill Cipher, so I mean that's the ultimate sin. That's the entire reason the show exists. Other than that, I mean, Mabel, you can get it, you can forgive to an extent because she's 12, so she's a kid. So I mean, when you were 12, when we were all 12, we've all done dumb shit. Like you can't deny that. So with Mabel, it's a bit more forgivable than is with Ford, who's pretty much like he's like middle aged. I don't know, whatever. Like is he almost 70? But yeah, so with Ford, it's harder to forgive than with Mabel, and because of that, Ford is just a character who needs a lot more development, I'd say. And I think the perfect way to develop Ford would be to focus more episodes on developing Ford. So, like, in Season 2B, I think one of the big arguments that people make about Season 2B of Gravity Falls is, like, the Stanchurian Candidate and Roadside Attraction being episodes that were not story-driven or focused on Ford, and thus, like, I mean, Ford only made a small cameo in, small, like, appearance in Stanchurian Candidate and was not at all in Roadside Attraction, which is one of the many reasons that episode is so despised. But I feel like if you took out those two episodes and replaced them with Ford development episodes that focus more on Ford's character, it could have been done in a way to better improve Ford's character. And I feel like another way that you could improve Ford would be to have like an episode where him and Mabel bond, because like I feel like especially if you did one post Weirdmageddon, so like when like everything is going on afterwards, like have Mabel and Ford just sit down and talk about their problems, like, and just overcome, because I feel like Mabel still holds a lot of maybe grudge towards Ford about what he tried to do to her and Dipper's relationship, and I feel like Ford holds some guilt towards what he tried to do to Mabel as well. And I mean, that's probably just a headcanon, but like I feel really like that could have been an interesting story, and if done, it could have really drastically improved Mabel's character and Ford's character, and in turn probably would have balanced out all this like confusion and hatred that fans have. So like, I mean, Ford gets a lot less hatred for various reasons, because I don't know, the fandom's all full of simps, but just kidding. But like, yeah, like Ford is a lot less criticized of a character than Mabel is, and Mabel is just too over criticized. So, yeah, I mean, I think a Mabel and Ford story would have really done a good job and like fixing both characters' like flaws, and like just had both of them talking about their problems and overcoming them and forgiving and forgetting. And I do have a lot of infuriation about Lost Legends not doing that. I think don't dimension it for just all that people like about it is a pretty bad story in terms of what it did. Like, I really hate what it did to Dipper's character. Like, I feel like it just made Dipper just the exact, like, everything that I didn't want his character to end up being. I feel like it became unnecessary. That story, it feels more like Alex was held up in a room and by people who dislike Mabel. I don't know, this is probably too extreme, but like he was held, like he was forced to write the story. Like, I feel like he went online on like YouTube and saw all the negative criticism on Mabel and just went out and wrote the story. Like, it doesn't feel like it was written by him to be canonical, which thankfully Lost Legends is technically not actually canon, so that's a good thing. But yeah, it's painful because I kind of like that story's concept. But like, yeah, I feel like Lost Legends, like, don't dimension it, could have been much better if it was a Mabel and Ford focused story, which was something I really, really hoped that the book would have done. But yeah, I mean, as time has gone by, I've come to not be as big of a fan of Lost Legends in many situations. I mean, I still think it's a really great book, but it could have just done so much more for Gravity Falls than what it ended up doing. There were just a lot of things that the show could have improved on, and I feel like this book was a big opportunity wasted on doing that. I mean, on top of that, there's like Wendy development, which is another thing that I'm really, really wish the show did. Like, I could go on and on and on about all the things I could change about Gravity Falls and wish that the show did more work on, like Wendy's character development. But I think I'm gonna rest at that point, like developing Ford's character more and improving on these small little things that could have made each character a lot better would have been a lot better of a strategy than what the show ended up doing. But that all said, I still do find Ford to be a good interesting character, and as Journal 3, I think kind of improved a lot of my opinions on him, and I feel a lot better about Ford now than I did back then. But it's not a lot more, but not to the point that I would be like screw Ford, for example. Like I don't hate his character. Like, I don't hate him like horrible so much that I never wanted him to be developed. But like, yeah, I think I'm kind of losing the point of this whole question. But like, yeah, long story short, Ford could have been a lot better handled of a character, and if that was something that I could change about Gravity Falls, I definitely would. How did you feel when you kind of blew up? Blowing up like the channel, like back in June, when I think it was my video on Alex's cipher hunting, and I don't know how that got popular, but like maybe because of the pandemic. But yeah, that was an interesting situation, and I was really shocked when that video blew up and the channel suddenly went from taking 2 years to hit 1K subscribers to suddenly blowing up and reaching 10K in less than 3 months. Like, that was a shock. And I mean, I don't claim to be any huge channel, and I don't think that I'm really all that big or important, and I don't really regard myself as that. Like, at the end of the day, I'm just a regular guy who likes Gravity Falls and made a YouTube channel about it. But I am really grateful for all the support and motivation and just the amount of just kindness that people have given towards the channel and this stupid project that I've been working on for 4 years now. And yeah, as long as that continues to happen, I think I am going to continue working on trying to make this channel what it is. And I have a lot of ideas ahead as well. So that's really exciting. And yeah, I mean, blowing up was an interesting experience. And I mean, I don't think it changed what I want to do with the channel, but it did really make me realize that, yeah, Gravity Falls is still relevant. Like, the fact that a channel dedicated to Gravity Falls can still be, to some extent, popular in 2021 when there's all these other new amazing shows out, kind of really shows the everlasting legacy of the show. And I'm truly glad that I can continue to say that I am keeping Gravity Falls alive in some small way or another. But at the end of the day, it is the community that really does it all, and I wouldn't be here without them. And and I just cannot thank them enough. So like my community, the Gravity Falls community, like all of them, they're just amazing. And as long as they continue to be amazing, I'm going to continue to be part of them. Is a hot dog a sandwich? I have no idea actually. What were your motivations to start the channel? Well, originally this channel was created as a backup for another project I was working on at the time, back in 2017. That project actually didn't work out all that well, so I ultimately had no idea what to use the channel for. But then at the same time, I found out about Gravity Falls, started watching it, and I got interested in maybe making a couple of videos for it. Like, I had this idea for like a tribute video for like the 5th anniversary of the show starting, so that was what this channel was originally created for, and that was going to originally be the only video that would be uploaded on this channel. But then, like, Alex announced the graphic novel, and then I got a bit more interested in the show, and I decided this might be a good exercise of video editing as well, because that's something I like doing. So I decided to put more effort into that, and, well, here we are now. So I see this channel more so as an experiment and a practicing type area, like, basically to brush up on editing skills in my end. I mean, I don't claim to be like amazingly good at editing and stuff, and like my editing software is pretty basic, but I do think that I've gotten a lot better in editing than from when those early videos, like from back in those days, because like back then, like I edited everything on Microsoft Movie Maker, believe it or not, but like I use a lot more advanced editors to some extent, but like, yeah, that's pretty much what the motivation of the channel was at the time. What's your favorite Gravity Falls episode? Well, I would say my absolute favorite episode, without a doubt, is the Time Traveler's Pig. There's, like that episode was the episode that really made me love Gravity Falls as much as I do now. And, like, I'd say it's a timeless episode. Like, it's such a easy to rewatch episode. Like, basically, here's what I think. Like, Now What He Seems is obviously the best episode of the show. Like, I don't think anybody can disagree on that fact. It is the most important and most incredible episode that the show ever made. But the thing with Now What He Seems is that once you watch it for the first time, and like afterwards, like the same amount of excitement that you get from watching it for the first time and being amazed at everything that happens, and maybe like the second time and third time, like that sort of dissipates after that point. Like, the episode is always going to be amazing, but that excitement factor is no longer going to be there, because you know what's going to happen eventually. You know how things are going to go, and I mean, you know, watching the episode you might still get chills, but like, it loses that feeling of just pure adrenaline, like excitement that you get when you watch it the first time. And I mean, that's not to say like rewatching the Time Traveler's Pig is any different in the sense that like it is, you know what's gonna happen at the end of it is too. But like with Time Traveler's Pig, it's like it's a lot more. It's not as intense of an episode, so it's a lot more relaxed of a feeling to watch it with, and like you get a bit more enjoyment in that sense from just like a simplistic point of view. Like, Now What He Seems is obviously the most epic, like insane, like crazy episode of the show, and it's always going to be number one. But Time Traveler's Pig is a simple episode with a simple plot. It's easy to follow along to. It's enjoyable, and it's always going to be a great episode to watch no matter what, in that sense, at least in my opinion. Of course, I do have some gripes. Like, I think probably my biggest issue with that episode is what the fandom's done to it, because like it always gets turned around as like, oh, Mabel did this, like, she doesn't deserve waddles and stuff, and mostly like Dipper Sims going nuts about it. But like, even Alex has said that like Dipper was wrong in that episode and he doesn't deserve to win, because like, I mean, think about it, the kid messed with time, he stole from Blendon, and like that all shit happened, and like he doesn't deserve to win at the end of that episode. So like, I don't understand why people are like judgmental towards Mabel in that episode. Like, there are times later on in the show where it's understandable why there's frustration, but like, this is not one of those episodes. This one is 100% like Mabel right, Dipper wrong. Like, there's no real argument to be made in this episode, and anyone who does that, in my opinion, is just wrong. So yeah, there's that. But like I've said it before, like I don't really care about what the fans think. To some degree, I'm not like that type of fan who really is like that deep into fandom related type stuff. So for me, like, that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, this is my favorite episode and always will be my favorite episode. Do you watch Infinity Train? If yes, which book is your favorite? Oh, like, okay. Yeah, I do watch Infinity Train. Like, I'm so pissed off that the show got cancelled. Like, it deserved better, and I really hope it does get that fifth book. But the episode, the book, the season or book that I love the most still has to be book one. Because, like, the later books are amazing, and they obviously deepen the story and tell their own stories, which is great, because, like, it's an anthology type series, which is amazing. But, like, book one feels a lot different to the other books because I think, like, at the time, book one was written to sort of be like its own story. Like, I think Owen Dennis went like, we got to see why, like, like how it affected Tulip's father, like how it affected her mother or herself. So, like, and like that's not a thing you see in shows really that much. Like, even, like, I'd say mature, like, shows, like, you just don't see that. And, like, that's insane, honestly, because, like, I mean, obviously I'm fortunate that I've never had to deal with such a thing, but there are a lot of people out there who have had to go through the difficulty of, like, going through a divorce, and yeah, that shit is, like, yeah, it affects you a lot. And I think the show does a good job in showcasing just how all sides, all parties involved are affected by it. So, like, it didn't try to hide anything. It didn't try to be nice and be cuddling and show us the happier side of things. It showed us the raw emotions and the difficultness of that whole situation. And that's something I kind of wish more shows did, because, like, especially when you see characters with, like, single parents, for example, in shows like, I mean, like in the Owl House with, like, Luz being, like, her mom apparently being single, or, like, in, like, Gravity Falls itself, like, you have Seuss, like, with his grandmother. Like, you just don't see shows show us why that's the case. You just don't see that, really. And I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, in terms of, like, yeah, it probably isn't important to the story. Like, we don't need to know why so and so character has only one parent, that's most of the time the mom. But, like, yeah, we don't, like, that's not always something that a show's story needs to focus on. But, like, I feel like it could be important in showing us, like, how that character is. But, like, at the same time, I'm not, like, a writer or anything for the show, so I don't know. But yeah, I do feel like it would be nice if shows did that more, because, like, we're in a time when cartoons are really pushing the boundaries and really, like, telling us a lot more interesting and deeper stories. But, like, despite that, the whole parent side of shows is still neglected so much. Like, you still have shows that do the stereotypical, like, cliches of, like, oh, the dumb dad and, like, the overly smart, like, strict mom type tropes, and other times they'll just be like the dad is not there at all and they just have the single mom. So, like I'm getting tired of seeing that type of stuff in the shows. And, like, I mean, yeah, I get that that is a commonality with a lot of people, but at the same time, like the same argument can be made for, like, normal parents. Like, we don't get enough of those, like a normal, like, relationship, which is, like, not amazingly perfect but not horribly dysfunctional either. So, like, I feel like that is something a lot of shows still lack, and I kind of wish they did focus on that a bit more. Like, I feel like there needs to be a balance, because, like, if you have too many shows with the same type of setup, like, in that sense with characters, like, it's gonna get tiresome after a while. And I mean, we all know about tropes and stuff, so, like, there's that. But yeah, like, I think in showing the dysfunctional side of things, like, Infinity Train did a really good job in that sense, and that's kind of why I still love book one. And, like, the book one characters are all just some of my favorites, like One, Atticus, those guys. Like, yeah, like, book one is probably not only one of my absolute favorite book of Infinity Train, but one of my favorite, like, stories from a show ever. So, like, so yeah, there's basically that. So, like, Infinity Train is just an amazing show, and I am really hopeful to see what happens next. And I will continue to love everything that the show does, but my favorite book of all still book one, and always will, probably. But yeah, so this video seems to have gone on for a lot longer than I thought it would. So I think I'm going to split this Q&A into two parts. So we've so far gotten through half of the questions that I've gotten. So the next video will cover the remaining half. And hopefully that won't also be an hour long either. So thank you once again for everybody who submitted a question. I am working to get them all answered, and I will be posting the second part of this Q&A video real soon, as soon as it's finished. So yeah. Thank you to everybody who submitted a question for now in this part of the Q&A, and to everybody who still hasn't had their question answered, I will be for sure answering it in the next video. So yeah, there's that. So thank you for watching. Hopefully the 1 hour long ranting that I did in this Q&A wasn't boring, but maybe a good podcast. But like, yeah, so thanks for watching, and see you soon in part 2.